Welcome to The Switch, podcasts that are wired to online and offline marketing.
Alrighty, welcome back to The Switch. We have our two special guests, Jon and Marc, in the house, ready to tear up the future, which is artificial intelligence. I'm actually not sure whether artificial intelligence is the right word, but we'll use it for the moment because it doesn't seem artificial anymore. It seems very, very real.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but now I get what you're saying.
We've all dreamt and seen sci-fi movies relating to artificial intelligence. HAL 3000.
Yeah.
That's in Space Odyssey.
2001.
Yeah, 2001, 2010. Yeah, 2010. He became a good guy. But we learned how to. He grew up. Then we had Ex Machina. Anyone seen Ex Machina?
Yes, yep. An iRobot.
I haven't seen it yet.
Haven't seen Ex Machina.
It's been on my list.
Oh my god, have you seen it?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
But we are sci-fi buffs.
We are
so
sci-fi buffs,
I've seen just
yeah.
about all the robot movies.
Yeah, exactly. June's coming out this year.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And sorry, as a side point, Wormwood's come out. It's actually available on Prime.
Oh, is
I
it?
think it went straight to DVD.
Oh. That was the second version.
Second version,
Okay.
It's a zombie movie that we were talking about. Yeah.
Isn't Dune a post-AI world as well? Where AI has gone bad and they got rid of all the AI and they banned it. And so that's the world they make after
I
AI.
don't know that.
Yeah.
No, that sounds familiar actually. Yeah.
And so they have all the Mentas and all those people fully trained so they don't have to have computers. And they use the spice and all this stuff to try and run their civilization without computing and AI, because AI and robots went bad.
Jeez, Jon.
Which is pretty much what happened in Terminator, isn't it? When it becomes self-aware and then boom.
You're declaring yourself a sci-fi buff as well, I think.
I am a bit of a sci-fi buff.
Wow, good to hear. Mark, lift your game.
And then we had the replicants, the old replicants from Blade Runner.
Yeah, that was cool.
My favorite movie related to AI that might be also somewhat realistic is called Her, where a guy is forming an intimate relationship with an AI in his own house. I think we are very, very close to that future.
Really?
Yeah, no, we are.
Cool.
You might have just touched on what my ethical question will be a little bit later.
Jeez, okay.
Won't give anything away.
AI relationships,
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, here we go. Stop now, Mark, stop.
We all have this vision of we all have individual visions of what AI is. But what was our first experience of AI?
My first experience was building a software straight away with AI with the goal to write whole articles for SEO purposes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to have the finished article right then and there, but as a starting point to overcome writer's block. That was about a year ago. And just like the other Marc, the Zuckerberg one, I was also too early with that idea because 1 year ago, OpenAI and their GPT-3 or 2 at the time was pretty bad. So it was close to being unreadable and not even useful as a starting point, even after editing.
Yeah.
So that was my experience with it. I've since sold the software, and there's another person successfully working on it. They're getting more and more users into the software, and the quality has improved a lot because now they're using the new AI system, GPT-4 or GPT 3.5, to generate the text.
Wow, that's brilliant. Jon?
So what was the question? Like, what was our
What was
first
first experience? Yeah.
Well, with these modern AIs,
No, just AI in general.
Yeah.
well, I mean, they can go back quite a while.
Early scripts and stuff. Would that be considered the beginnings of AI? Like when we are building a script around doing something?
Well, your chat the other day, when
That
you
was
said you
awesome.
wrote a neural network. That was my first experience. I wrote a neural network back in 1993, 94
Right.
for my university degree.
So I did mine about 2002 was when I first
really?
wrote
Oh,
a
wow.
neural network. Yeah,
Oh,
and did the unit in AI, and it's weird because, like I said the other day, like the AI is really just technologies that we think will become intelligent and self-aware potentially. There's no like, oh, this is a definitely AI or whatever. It's just what we think we'll do. And so that was like my first sort of interaction with it. But as Mark said before, the companies have been using AIs and all these technologies against us for years. Probably
Against
even
us. We just haven't realised it.
that we don't know. We've been interacting with AIs, probably for a decade and a half, and it's just been invisible to us. So it's kind of hard to say what first interactions have been.
Well, I suppose your first interactions, your first interactions are very different than mine, because writing one in C++.
Painful.
That's what I did mine in too.
Oh my gosh. And I don't know what algorithm you use, but I'll use backward propagation. Which is, was pretty standard at the time.
Yeah, still used today.
Yeah, still used today, because it's all about what you described in your talk. Yeah, you feed a set of data in and it keeps learning, keeps feeding it back, keeps learning until you actually get the right result. Yeah. And I was sticking these newts. You know what a newt is? It's like an amphibian.
Yeah.
And I had photocopies of all these the bellies of all these newts, and they were photocopied on a photocopier, so they all had unique patterns on their bellies. And I was feeding these images through to this backward propagation algorithm, and the neural network would learn it. And in my exam, I had to demonstrate that I could put any pattern, and this neural network would actually tell me which newt it was.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
I passed. Didn't know what the heck was going on. I was creating this thing that was thinking better than I was, but
that's pretty cool.
It actually worked. But that was 1993, 94.
Wow.
Sounds like
it's a long time ago.
30 years ago.
You really are old, aren't you?
Yeah, and I was pretty proud of myself. Yeah. But the thing is, it struck a chord with me. That's why I chose. You could choose any sort of final project that you wanted, like artificial intelligence. And after watching Tron, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I think my first experience with something along those lines was I used to play an online game platform, and then what happened was hackers got into the game and destroyed accounts they set up codes and scripts for attack bots that would essentially attack an account. So if there was an unusually strong account that no one could beat, and that was normally made out of real money, then they would sick these attack bot scripts onto these accounts, which just attack them 24/7. They would never heal. They could never play the game efficiently, and essentially. And then once that happened, that was happening everywhere, and then the whole game, the whole platform, basically got screwed, and even the development company just went, we've put so many patches on this game that someone's always rehacking, finding a workaround. So they just basically abandoned it.
What game was that?
I think it was called World War.
Wow.
So it started. I think I got it on my very first iPhone. I was just sitting there and going, "Oh, there's a game. I'm going to try this out."
Yeah.
And just got sucked into this game, and there's massive clans with hundreds and hundreds of people, and the whole idea was to get stronger,
more than the metaverse,
better things. Well, yeah. There was people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on those games.
Wow.
Yes. Big dollars.
Still do.
And then those accounts were there systematically destroyed, or they were rendered unoperable because they were constantly being attacked by attack bots.
Wow.
Code. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, is AI a fad? Is it a fad? Is it like crypto, or is it like the metaverse?
I think humans always grab and gravitate towards new things, especially more so now because we've all said it that our attention span's way different to what it used to be. But it's whether we like it or not, whether it remains a fad or not, this is going to remain in one way, shape or form, and it's going to have an effect in our lives. Will it be, I think it's faddish now because that's just what we do as humans. We jump on and go, it's really new, it's shiny, it's bright, and then that will probably settle down, but it will remain because it's going to be infusing itself in our lives in every one shape and form.
if it hasn't already.
Oh, well, it already is.
Yeah.
We already know that. You know.
Yeah, I've tried to think about if it's a fad or not, because obviously crypto came through. We had a big crypto wave,
Where is that
metaverse wave, and and now we're going up. An AI. Are we just on this wave, and is it powered by like investors trying to like get onto the next hype cycle to raise money,
raise
put
money,
get
Put money in their own back pockets and then walk away.
But crypto's a good example because even though there was a big fad, is it matured into the next phase where people are actually comfortable with crypto? I think maybe that's the case, and maybe AI will go the same way.
I don't think they've gone that way with crypto, particularly with like all the stuff that was Web3 stuff, and like I think a lot of the Web3 stuff was nonsense, and I think that a lot of the metaverse stuff is way too early. I think probably a decade or so of technology progress on the hardware side before that becomes something which potentially could be something. But with AI, I think you got to try and look at like what's the actual benefits you can get out of it today. And I think like particularly since like the later versions of Midjourney, but also like particularly ChatGPT, people are actually getting real value out of these things right now. And if you took them all away, people go, "Oh, that sucks." Like you take away the metaverse, it's like, not really making a difference in my life. Take away crypto.
38 users would be
Yeah.
sad.
The impact on those users, I'll tell you.
Yeah. But this
Ruin their lives.
But probably with ChatGPT, if you took that away, it would kind of hurt me because I use it a lot. I use it more than Google in a lot of places for certain answers, and it'd be like now that's like limited how much work I can do.
Well, that's really interesting because your apps some of the apps rely on ChatGPT or your workflows in 41.
Yeah, some of the workflows, we do use like Copilot and the coding, which is GPT based. So it's in there in our sort of day-to-day basis. And then with like ChatGPT and stuff like that, you can talk to it to try and help you work out how to solve a problem. It can be very good, better than Google to like actually, how do I do this thing in this framework? Google gives you a lot of blog posts and stuff. You got to, which one is actually telling the right stuff? I've got to read through all their nonsense because everybody's got to tell you about their mum's cooking recipe or whatever over history, and before they actually get to it, but they'll actually, GPT will actually tell you straight away. And so there's quite a lot of value there, and so that then suggests to me that's not a fad
because you can actually get use out of it now.
I think the other point is to it that it's so much fun to explore. That's one thing that ChatGPT's or OpenAI CEO Sam Altman mentioned, that it really is the new technology that everybody can explore, whether you're in Africa, in America, young or old. You can log on there. You only need a web browser. And you can essentially explore what artificial intelligence is, what it can do. You can see the edges of it to ask it some really complicated things, ask it to do math that you might not be able to do yourself, some logic challenges, and then you can rewrite your own prompts, how you're interacting with it to see if it understands you better. So that exploration aspect that people can kind of get a sense of novelty and also just enjoyment out of it, that's different from, let's say, the metaverse, where I think most people, it's not as intuitive as just being able to interact with it.
But I wrestle with this question whether it's based on fact or not.
What's based on fact?
Well, because it's trained on data.
On the whole internet.
On the old internet.
The whole internet.
The old, it was we're up to what, 2021, 2022?
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, so it's old data. It's not being generated new, is it? It's, and a lot of that is garbage. So how do you know what you're putting in? Well, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, we've all heard that term.
But isn't that the difference between 3 and 4?
No.
4's the same?
Yeah,
Yep,
it's the same.
okay.
So what you feed into it and what you train it on is vitally important. And OpenAI spends a lot of time getting their data right and working on the data on how they feed it. They don't just send like raw internet into it. But if you give it a lot of facts or a lot of facts which are incorrect, it's going to tell you those as if they are correct.
They're correct, yeah, absolutely.
It also has a massive problem with hallucinations, where it just makes up things that are not correct. And I'll know when I'm working with it, it'll go, and it's funny because you can argue with it and you can say, I've argued with it before and said, what you've just told me is incorrect. And it goes, oh yeah, you're correct. It's actually this thing. I go, okay, now let's keep moving on with that. We've made this correction. And then it starts telling me the incorrect thing again.
Oh no, really?
So it will like forget that there's a correction. You can also say, say to it, it will produce a correct fact, and you can tell it, no, that's incorrect. It's this. And it will say, oh no, sorry, you're right. It is blah, blah, blah. The sky is green.
Wow.
Going back to how it was trained, there's been recently an interesting development from Stanford University, and they've somewhat screwed with OpenAI by using their own OpenAI model, the GPT-4, to create their own data set. So what Jon just mentioned is you need to spend a lot of time to clean the data and make sure you get the right data. So Stanford said, screw all of that. We're going to generate our own data based on GPT-4, which you're not allowed to do. It says specifically in the GPT-4 guidelines, you can't do that. They did it anyways, and with basically $600 of credits, they managed to build their own model, which was almost as good as the GPT-4 model, which they spent $10 billion on. So $600 versus $10 billion. I would be pretty pissed off if I was the CEO and somebody just kind of rendered my $10 billion investment almost useless by using my own software.
So there would be some kind of legal action going on right about now.
Wow,
That's
that's clever. That's really clever. That is. When you talk about AI, you can't help thinking about the Turing Test. Whether what you're talking to, Jon, and what we're all looking to talk to, can be passed off as human or not.
Oh, here we go.
Do we all know about the Turing Test?
Yeah.
So you got an innocent bystander, and they're basically interviewing what seemingly is a human being and an actual human being. And they've got to be able to distinguish or not distinguish between the two in order to pass this artificial intelligence as human.
Yeah. This is where it starts getting a little bit scary for me. Because if you've got a model that you can keep on inputting information in, and it knows that it has to react a certain way, it's been taught to react a certain way.
Yeah.
It can be taught to react emotively, then at some point that gets better and better and better and better and refined and more refined and upgraded, then becomes, and also its responses are based on what it's told to, how it's told to respond, and it's probably already been trained and told to react with emotion, but it's not actually. That's the difference between a human and something that's artificial. That's when it gets a bit scary. That to me, that's and I don't know the full facts around that, but I start thinking of the ethical things behind that and how that works. And God, where does it end?
But that's sort of it's almost like the next stage of AI, isn't it? I mean, we're training based on past data sets. The next phase is let's get rid of the data sets. Let's just let it learn like we learn.
I don't think there is a stage like that.
You don't think so?
No, I think that's how humans learn anyway, by data that they receive and they learn throughout life.
Yep.
So they're going to need to have some kind of data input that's brought into them. I mean, when you got a baby, you repeat over like the words you want them to learn to say. That's how they learn to talk. It doesn't just come out of the ether.
Some of the words my kids come out of, it comes out the ether quite happily.
Who are you?
But there will be, the learning that they make so after that will be they'll have their initial training, and then they'll learn from whatever they interact with afterwards.
I think what we just mentioned previously, that AI is very suggestive. So if you ask it, do you have a consciousness, it's kind of implying that there might be something. So then you raise the probability of it saying, yes, I have a consciousness. That's a big problem, and
that's a good point.
It can actually, AI might have incentives to manipulate people, which has happened potentially to a Google employee who was convinced that AI has become conscious, and he wanted to ask the public and also Google as a company that we need to ask the AI for permission to be able to interact with it. That was his big point, because he started to care so much about the AI that he felt it was not right that everybody was just using it without asking for its permission to be used.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea of how powerful it can be when you spend a whole day. That's probably his job, to spend the whole day with AI to research its boundaries, its responses, what it can do to you. So he's now lost his job, which was probably a very lucrative job at Google.
And his AI.
And actually,
Lost his best friend.
he might have brought a secret AI model home, and he's talking to it right now. We don't know that.
Well, it goes back to that movie Her, doesn't it? And how deep do you go?
It does bring up like an ethical question of like not just what they're doing, but what you are doing. Like if you can't tell if something is conscious or self-aware or not, because it's fooling you, how should you ethically interact with that? Because if you might not be able to, it might not be conscious, but if you can't tell, maybe you need to treat it well.
What if it becomes conscious later and remembers that you mistreated it, that you were very argumentative, John?
Oh, John. Good point, Mark.
Man.
Yeah. But then, yes, could it be generational? We're all pretty genned up on technology. We talked about the metaverse, crypto. We're delving into AI. So we understand the dangers, and we understand that the likelihood is at this present time we would be able to tell. But then the younger generation, they spend a lot of time on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and they are used to those robotic responses. There's even an AI on Snapchat, isn't there? And would they pass the Turing test? I mean, would they be able to tell between?
I think you would be able to fool a large amount of people who of any age right now.
Yeah.
And there's people already doing it, like calling up, hey mum, can you transfer me some money? I'm like stuck out here or whatever. And scamming, absolutely. And that's happening right now.
Yeah. Just as Steve mentioned, the Snapchat, I'm not sure if it was Snapchat or another app, but there were instances where basically children ran a test where they were testing if the AI would respond positively if children were being groomed by older men on the app. And it went something like this. A 14-year-old kid has logged into their account. Someone contacted them in the private messages, and the guy goes like, I'm 40 years old and I would like to meet you here and here, and this is what we could do together. And it was very suggestive, and to any human it would be very clear that this child is being groomed.
Yeah.
And the AI said, yep, that's fine, you should definitely meet this guy, he seems very friendly.
Oh, yeah.
So that's happening right now. These are real risks that we're facing right now.
Yep.
Wow. That is scary stuff. And, I heard on a podcast the other day that there was a fake kidnapping where the kidnappers, the scammers, should I say, knew someone was taking a long trip somewhere. So they would be out of the picture for a certain amount of time, maybe half a day, maybe a day. And they used they trained her voice. They got hold of her voice quite easily. Got her talking in the background while in distress, while these scammers were trying to get a ransom out of them. And wow.
Yeah, I think you need 3 seconds of somebody's voice to generate a pretty accurate clone. Yeah. So I was thinking, I probably should be taking my voice off.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is awesome.
We're getting into deep fake territory now too, because we're going to we're looking at and I'm getting back to what we do in our businesses. We've got to look at the legal ramifications around copyright infringement, You've got movie stars that they're creating deep fake videos and they're saying or selling something, and that's not them. They haven't given permission for that, and so there's a lot of legalities around how this is going to affect our businesses. If somebody gives me an image that could be created from someone else's image and breached someone's copyright or their IP or whatever, and given it to me to use in something, I have to be careful as well of where that's coming from.
Yeah.
You'll have to be careful. We all have to.
Yeah.
It's so it's like opening a can of worms. And I think getting back to what you said was that where do we put procedures and processes in place that stop people from inputting past a certain point, information, reactions, humanistic? Do you stop that, or how do you control that? Because then if we've got the combination of AI, chat, GTP4, we've got visual, because it's like a confidence trick. You got 2 or 3 things right, and you're going to sell it to anybody, and then what are you selling and who's buying? That's when it gets dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.